Wait a minute. I'm gonna try again.
I think we are.
Okay, I think we're live now.
Yes, yes, we are.
So, yes, there's just a little thing in the LinkedIn live one, but we're live on YouTube still and Twitter. So, welcome everyone to this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us once again in the weekly WEYU Academy talks. For us, these are the moments that we learn the most from our special speakers. And today we have the amazing opportunity to speak with three great people, which two of them are already here. So I'll give space for them to introduce themselves, and I'll start now with Eli. So, Eli, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Daniela. It's really a pleasure to be here. And just to give you guys a quick introduction about who I am, I talk a lot about metaverse advertising. I have a podcast called Metavertising, which was recently I learned that it's one of the top 5% most shared podcasts in the world in Spotify, and also one of the top 15% most followed podcasts on Spotify. And yeah, I talk a lot about metaverse advertising, as I said, metaverse marketing in general, a lot about Web3, and I'm excited to be here with you guys and add a little bit of my perspective to it.
Wow, wow, what a figure. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I didn't know that much about you, I gotta say. So I'm proud of you. Thank you.
No
So the
problem.
second amazing person that is here also in podcast, so you know, is Abtari Aurora. I hope I pronounce your name well. But welcome to the conversation and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you for having me. Yeah, yeah. With my name, I think you got the first half right. So it's great because a lot of people are not able to get it right. So yeah, my name is Avtarit Arora. I'm from India, and I also am a podcaster. Lovely to meet you, Ellie. To understand these podcasts going on and so much content about Web3 and so much false content. So yeah, I host a short deep talk with Avtarit where we talk about Web3, NFTs, all things related to blockchain. Also, I am a founder of Innovative India, where we talk about a lot about the Web3 space and the blogs, the articles, and everything. And I'm also part of Metaverse Swapping, where we give solutions to people in Web3 space who are starting up and give them a launch pad to be in the space. So thanks for having me, Daniela.
I mean, thank you so much. And I love also hearing your podcast. I've learned a lot from it. And last but not least, the amazing Filippo. Welcome to the conversation.
Hi everyone. Good to see you finally. Great to meet you. After it, I think we connected and we've been
Yeah.
engaging for I don't know since ever pretty much. But I never got to see you, never got to have a conversation with you face to face.
Yes,
And
yes.
obviously, Eli and I have our weekly podcast
Oh, lovely.
as well.
Lovely
So
to meet you.
yeah, so yeah, we've been in the space together for a while, and yeah, as those of you that know me already know that I mostly focus on education today, and what I mean by education is Web3 education for enterprises specifically, um, which brings Web3 ecosystem adoption in general, both from the enterprise side and on the startup side. So really excited to join the conversation today, and thank you for having me.
Thank you all. And as you see, we've got the blessing to have all of these very knowledgeable and open-minded speakers today, which I'm very happy to. And Filippo kind of gave us the lead for the first question. I really appreciate to have mindful speakers and to understand as we aim to bring and help Web2 enterprise come to Web3 in a more purposeful, educated way. I always like knowing why our speakers came into the space and that it was for the right reason. So Filippo, want to join first with this? What brought you into NFTs and Web3?
Oh wow. What brought me into Web3 specifically was the first blockchain customer that I worked with in 2019. And obviously, as the space evolved and during COVID, NFTs became sort of a big thing for many. I started investing in NFTs myself, And then obviously from there, it's spinball to working in innovation hubs and facilitating growth for startups in a seed stage, obviously, or pre-seed stage, even some back then. And yeah, I'm just excited to, as the space progressed. Today, it's mostly about enterprises. As more and more people heard about the advantages or hear about the advantages, arguably we got some bad publicity, let's say. But at the least we're on the map right now, right? And so yeah, since then basically enterprises have taken over the space, I think, specifically for customer facing activities, and really looking forward to keeping on exploring that in the coming year.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've liked the most about as viewers, of your story is the passion and the importance that you see of the content creation. And I think that's one of the things that, given that the topic today is NFT strategy for loyalty and community, is one of the most important things and details out there. That whatever community or loyalty you're wanting to bring into the table with NFTs is always done with very well curated content and with the awareness of what you're putting out there on transparency and being genuine. So thank you so much, Filippo, for leading the way with that awareness. I highly appreciate it for us and for the all upcoming enterprises into the space. So I would also love to hear from Eli and Abtarit of what brought you here. Whoever wants to go next, more than welcome.
So yeah, with me, I mean, I've been into the business scheme of things over a decade now. But in 2017, as when saw the crypto market going in the bull, and there's a lot of talk, especially in India, we were waking up to the crypto, and then got into the space. I think it was about 28 hours straight. I read around 5 6 books on blockchain, understood the whole side of things, and then understanding crypto, and then understanding the NFT space. So it's been over 5 years now, in this space and helping out a lot of people. So I found a lot of people getting taken by the market because of the rug pull, because of a lot of crypto scams. I think that's what hit me. I think it was very important for me to educate the masses, go out there and explain what is right, what is wrong, how you should verify the information, how you should check the NFT projects, how should you research about the cryptocurrencies out there, what you should do. So in India, it's like 1.4 billion people, and I mean, I had the massive opportunity to just go out there and explore myself. And yeah, since then, it's been kind of like I'm more responsible about, getting that content out. So yeah, that's about me.
How about you, lovely Eli?
Awesome. So for me, I think it was just uh, a little bit of curiosity, I think, combined with also my passion for technology and also for marketing. So I've been buying crypto for a few years now. I've gotten into NFTs pretty early. I just didn't buy the right NFTs, so I hadn't become a millionaire with NFTs, but you never know. So fingers crossed. But yeah, but I've been buying NFTs for a while now, and I've been buying crypto for a while now. And so when I got into marketing, back then, I always tell the story that Alexa was really famous, and like everybody was buying like the Echo Dots and the Alexa devices. And so it got me asking myself, if this is the hype right now, this is the trend right now, then what is the next big thing that is going to happen for marketing? And so it was clear to me that it was going to be AR VR. So I also naturally started going towards that path. And when I started learning more about Web3, that was like basically the conversion of all of these things that I was already into, then it was natural to me, it was only natural to me to jump into it and start looking it up and start creating content and helping other people with it as well. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much it, and that's what got me here.
I love it. And I love the transparency of I bought the wrong NFTs. Like I think we've all been there. Um and
Oh yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
Definitely,
okay.
definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Biggest,
I
the
see
You
all
biggest rug,
speakers
the biggest
agree.
rug pulls, the biggest rug pulls were in the
have to
beginning, of
fail to
course.
succeed.
Yeah, exactly. I like to think that the ones that the NFTs that I have bought that didn't play out in the long run were actually an investment into education. So it was
Yeah.
like it was the price for me to learn, what to do and what not to
Yes.
do in the space.
You,
So
you
yeah.
want to know something funny? I actually gave them as birthday presents for some of the people that I know. I hope they're not seeing this, but whatever didn't work, I gave out as gifts. It's like, here's the way to onboard to Web3. Have some NFTs. There you go. But they were really
Oh,
bad. So this is it's good. It was a double investment for me.
oh,
Yeah, and actually that hits in a important button in myself. So in my case, what brought me into NFTs and the Web3 space is actually that the community. Because I was not a big investor, I just knew a little about the mindset of Vitalik Buterin in blockchain of a more transparent, fair world. And as a psychologist, I was like, man, I want to build that too. Where can I add value? And the where could I add value faster or better was the community. So I know what you guys said about the importance of the responsibility and the importance of understanding, doing research, and mostly figuring that NFTs have different use cases. And just in this conversation, we had gifts. Like, yes, that's a use case anyways. We just have to pick the right ones, but yes, we can give them. And when we can build reward and loyalty systems because of the gifts, we can do education investment. So the first NFT I minted was as well because I was educating myself on how to mint and what does that meant, and mostly building communities for the right purposes, for crowdfunding, for like there's so many use cases that loyalty in this case and building community doesn't mean also only to have a successful mint that sells out, not necessarily. NFTs are the way to more than a trend, a strategy to pick up a goal that is backed by the new technology development. That's how we see it, and that's how we want to encourage the use of it. So it becomes literally our ally as we understand it as best. So, with that in hand, I think for this conversation, it's very relevant to understand what is the difference between customers and community when we're talking about NFTs. Um, so maybe I don't know, Eli, if you'd like to go first for this one. If not, you can say
Definitely.
it.
No, 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 it's all good. I think, now that we're getting into Web3, I think that the word community has been really trending in that sense because, a lot of people are talking about, how community is something that is really essential for Web3. It's one of the main or maybe one of the core concepts of Web3 and whatnot. And I completely agree. However, I think, we need to take a kind of a step back and really analyzing, why is it important that we're talking about community so much that we're entering now that we're entering into Web3? And I think it's because the consumer behavior worldwide it's shifting. So consumers and end users and whatnot, they're realizing the power that they have if they stick together. So that can have a huge impact in a brand nowadays, or in a company, in an enterprise company, or whatever. When they realize that either, regardless if they want it or not, their consumers are going to create communities around their products. So they might just as well be in those communities and participate of those conversations and actively, helping empower their customers. And I think that's the real meaning of a community, right? It's basically like seeing, I wouldn't say it's like seeing the movement that the consumers are making, but basically like not only leveraging that, but at the same time participating of that conversation, empowering them and helping them to really, get not only get closer to your brand, but also empower their lives, right? So I think there's amazing examples of that out there. Like I think one of the recent examples that I've seen that I thought it was really interesting was by Lacoste. So Lacoste, they're allowing their consumers, their users, the ones that own the NFTs, to participate in the narrative of the brand and develop new projects because what the brand has realized is that they are not capable of coming up with all of the great ideas that are going to be the future of the company. So they're allowing their consumers to be part of that narrative and helping them really trail that path, or maybe create this new direction for the brand in the future by using NFTs, by using community. So I think when you take into consideration all of these new concepts and the new behavior of consumers and the direction that all of these things are going to, it's only logical that you want to leverage community NFTs, right?
I agree, and I think that's one of the tremendous challenges that people like Philippe, for example, that he's educating and bringing Web2 brands to Web3 as well, may have. I don't know if in your case some clients have a difficulty distinguishing between customers and community when thinking of NFTs strategies.
Oh, so I was gonna say yes. First of all, thanks for opening there. I think you hit a sweet spot, and I think that Eli kind of set the conversation there, right? He's saying basically that buyers across the spectrum and across industries have moved on from what they were before, and they are no longer they're looking for, I always say this exact sentence, it's the next level of customer engagement and brand loyalty. Buyers are looking for that, and I think that brands and companies and enterprises, everyone is coming to terms with this idea that's happening in B2C, B2B, D2C, Web3, Web2, whatever. And I think that we are shifting from people, people being the product to people becoming communities, right? So engaging on a higher level and really, sort of enterprises going into more personal or providing more personalized experiences one-to-one to the masses in a scalable way, but still making sure that the buyers are connected with them. And I think that there's no better way to do that than using Web3 technology. And in this sense, Web3 is like a tool set, like we always say with Eli, and NFTs being sort of the tokenization layer that sits between, building a decentralized community that allows you to co-create together with your buyer and providing utility, which is both on the physical level and on the immersive experience level, right? And the way to do that, and the most tangible way to do that today, I think, and that's so super important to say that, because everyone talks about the metaverse. The metaverse is, yes, it's here because there are virtual influencers and there's augmented reality, which is kind of taking off right now. But at the bottom line is the metaverse as a utopian concept is not here yet, and decentralization has not been achieved yet. The most tangible thing that brands are doing, use cases that are actually sticking today, are token gated experiences or communities that allow you to have an asset that is unique and personalized, that allows you to access a specific unique relationship with brands or with an enterprise. That's I think a super important thing to do this. And if we look at, sorry, just to finish off, if we look at some of the most successful use cases, I'm going to publish something about this today. We have, just to make the conversation a bit interesting and maybe set some ground for after it as well, to bring his perspective in. We see some of the top tokenized Web3 activations come to life, and that's exactly what it is about. It's a decentralized community that has utility, both physical and virtual. And some of the top cases are Starbucks, the Odyssey project, the Crypto Kicks by Nike, Timepieces by Time Magazine, and the Reddit use case, with the collectible avatars or collectible characters, whatever they
The
call it.
digital collectibles.
Digital collectibles. Yes, that's what I meant. So
Now it is
these
digital
four,
collectibles.
yeah. So these four, like,
Yeah.
to me, they're the biggest learning. First of all, they're the ones that stick, but they're the biggest learnings in terms of how to really leverage tokenization models to create that next level of customer engagement and brand loyalty. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. And I was just going to say that that thing of digital collectibles was like a very smart way of speaking Web3 without speaking Web3. And I think that's so smart.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean more of that actually. And we're gonna go there next. And thank you for opening up there. I have one very interesting comment here, which says that you can't differentiate community from customers. Moreover, Web3, it's about creating immersive experiences. And it kind of touches a little bit in that like metaverse expectation. Um, I don't know, Abtadi, from
I
everything
mean,
you've learned, what are your thoughts there?
I feel that there are like when you see the customers and the community, there are a lot of good examples. Like even the doodles getting the community to co-create. Now you are not consuming that product, you're creating. So this is also immersive. While if you have got some, let's say Starbucks, in the near future creates, you can get access to a coffee factory, or you can get access to something. So this is also immersive. I mean metaverse is obviously, it's happening, but it'll take some time. But to the important part here is the customer itself, a community, and they're talking about the same thing. As in, if you have the same liking as mine, we will connect. So that's what NFTs are doing. That's why people in the community, they're talking to each other and they're selling to each other, because they feel this happy vibe because of the the same belief system, the same things. And also I think when you co-create together, or when you build things together, you form that strong trust. That's what is, I feel, that's the most powerful thing in a community. And I feel when I see a project and I see there's something which is more connecting, that's the strategy. So when you go and find an NFT strategy, you go out there, understand, and how can you get that deep layer of human touch or human flavor to it, so that people start talking about it. So yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I.
and a perspective I'd like to bring here, and maybe you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but also I see that there's, if we're thinking enterprise wise, which means if I am a business that's starting from scratch in Web3, or that I'm already established and wants to NFTs and strategies, I like sometimes I feel that, because like I love the Web3 culture, sometimes I feel there's a lot of pressure in needing to build a community. Though if I see myself as the amount of enterprises out there and the stages that they're at, and still be creative and innovative, and why would they want NFTs? I think it's very smart to understand the options between, do I want this strategy to talk to customers, or do I want to build a community, in meanings of, like, I feel both of them having common values proposition, which means I do believe that people buy values behind a brand, and also involvement. I think customers have way less involvement than community when it when we're trying to generate transaction from it, from generate, like, both have to receive value. Because it's community or customer doesn't mean I don't have to offer added value. Like, both need to be clear in what value are they getting back. But I do feel there's an interesting difference that enterprises have to realize in what do they need, and for so why use NFTs purposes, and that it's okay to build that with customer or with community mindset. Um, but I don't know your thoughts on that. It's something I've been thinking of, um, when understanding the enterprise side of this and wanting more brands to come to the space, um, with that flexibility of movement, perhaps.
I think, may I, guys?
Right.
I think there's a misconception happening today at the enterprise level where people think that, or some customer facing functions who are in charge of revenue very often seem to think that community is about best practices for using a product, because that's what they've been used to knowing, and that's in their mindset, right? Because that's what's happened until now. That was the meaning of community. Now it's okay. How do I take some of the responsibility away and build an environment where they are talking to one another, and I don't have to, I will set up the environment, but it takes away from my responsibility of engaging. And this is exactly the opposite of what community will mean in the next 20 or 30 years. And the reason for that is because community is a way to nurture. It's the way to provide value in like like micro value, right? And at the same time also be, um, how should I say, be like smooth about it. Be not be aggressive about it, right? So you have these people that you're engaging with. you're providing value to them, you're dripping almost. It's like a drip campaign, but rather than being a drip campaign on email marketing, like you used to do like 5 years ago, it's a drip campaign on value through the community that they're part of. Okay. And then eventually it becomes, the touch points with brands that brands have with customers are controlled because you're part of the community, you're engaged now. I'm engaging you constantly. I'm also providing a personalized experience through tokens, and then there you go. You're I've minimized the 22 touch points that used to be part of the marketing funnel to into like 3 or 4 that are high value personalized touch points, right? And I think that that's the way to really look at this. And I do think that NFTs are a great way to do it. And if you want to build a community like that, it's extremely difficult. And people are like, okay, why should I use Web3 technology in the first place? Because it's so difficult already. Why should I ask someone to use a technology they didn't need to use before to do something they didn't need it to do before? Well, the truth is, because it's so difficult, you might as well do it on Web3 already, because then you're doing it in light of what's happening in the future. You see what I mean? That's the way I see this. What do you think, Eli, and after it?
I
Please
mean,
go ahead. Go ahead after.
yeah, I truly agree with you. I mean, and also to add to that, when we used to think about customers, or we are now talking in terms of community, it's the same thing, but there's a lot of difference. It's like you mentioned, that when you are connected, when they're like, we used to drink Starbucks, I mean, but we never got connected who's drinking Starbucks. But now we are in a coffee shop, and now we're talking, you drink what you like, and because of that coffee you get connected, and that's drives. I mean, a community is even your brand's employee. I mean, they're officially selling, this doing everything. If you can create a loyalty, if you can create an authenticity in the market because of the blockchain, because of the Web3, you can get a lot of community. You cannot do it. I mean, in Web 2, I have never heard even B2B can hold, an X company can hold an event, call their vendors, and the vendors are happy customers. They're like 50, 100, 500, but not in terms of so many thousands of people talking together and understanding, so the scalability is huge, that in terms of, if you can create a brand, it wasn't that scalable, but because of Web3, because of community, it is truly scalable from like any region or any country, like, so yeah.
And I think to add up on what you guys said, I think it has the community for a big company. It has a lot of value in several different perspectives, from several different ways. So one thing that Filippo said that I completely agree is that before, especially for enterprise, building a community was part of the marketing playbook. Like the good practices that you needed to have, especially if you had a kind of like a product led company. Like, so you have very low ticket product, and like, so let's just build a very controlled community that is within our website, and let our users help our other users, and they can help each other, and yada yada. And then this way we don't need to have such a huge customer success team available to our clients, so that they can get support, because each user can help each other. So I would say that's the old concept. So the new concept is something, putting together what you guys have said, and I completely agree. It is a somewhat controlled environment, but not very much. It is a space where you allow your customers to be free and share their opinions, and basically sell to each other maybe, and also a way for your company to be very close with your customer and hear what they have to say about your product, have a lot of feedback about the new stuff that you release, and offer as well benefits. Why not, for the people that are within your community helping you out? And at the same time, if you think about from the customer perspective, they're getting a lot of value as well. Because if you look at a brand, for example, Artifact or maybe Nike, when Artifact was bought by Nike, the NFTs rose up in value. So suddenly, it's kind of like as if you had shares from a company because you bought an NFT and you're part of the community. So there's all of these benefits, there's all of these perks. And you could do that before, you didn't necessarily need NFTs for that. But I think NFTs empower, being a part of the community so much, that it makes you question, like, why wouldn't I use NFTs? Like, it's not only it's the logical next step, but it's like it's the best thing that I can do in terms of building a community. It's the best way to build a community, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I have two very important things there. And first is how culture is contagious. So as you say, NFTs is not just like the technology that offers it, but the state of mind that it brings us when we start understanding the culture behind it. So yes, like buying a Nike NFT could be like buying shares, but because before being in that system of buying shares needed a lot of permissions, education, accessibility, etc., getting to do that was way harder. So less people would actually be interested in it or think that they would need a lot to be part of it. And NFTs is bringing us the experience of with as much as we have, where do we want to place a little bit here and there of things that we do believe in anyways in a more accessible way. And I think that's huge and very important to understand. Another second thing I want to highlight here was something that Filippo was talking about, innovation and the importance of doing this, also because we're setting the business to be ahead of what's going to happen in the future. And that's something that Nolan kind of touch bases here when he says that the best practices are anyways to think of like how to sustain and broader appeal and revenue streams. I feel that that's one of the huge things of differentiating and smartly using strategies and NFTs for strategy and loyalty and communities, thinking of what happens next. Um, what happens in 2 years from now with what I'm offering today? And merging that with what Filippo said about the future, if we pay attention to the future generations, they actually make way more emotional purchases. They are really interested in understanding the brands and for so making transactions to them. And for example, sustainability wise, considering the latest Deloitte's report on Gen Z and millennials, like a survey they did with them, they reported that 64% of them were more willing to buy from brand A than brand B if the product was sustainable. So this is just one example of how different the market is now that they're wanting to care more about that added value, that purpose, that impact. For so coming into NFT space should be accompanied with that, I'd say, if we're thinking to selling and to understanding the future generations that we and are way part of this as well.
I mean, that's why we, from some of the research that Eli and I did on the brands in Web3 effort, like 15% of companies today that are in the sorry 50% 15% of companies that are joining the Web3 space and have activated in Web3 actually from the automotive space. And there's a reason for that, right? It's because like what's going on there, people Gen Z and the new generations and even us, we care less now about having a car, owning a car. And what is the next thing that these automotive companies are going to do beyond making electric vehicles, which is, by the way, it's still energy, right? Like there's still consumption there, there's still some there's it is it is better than nothing, but it is so how are these, especially the luxury high end ones, how are they going to keep up with some of these? It's yes, today maybe they're even donating some of their revenues, but the truth is it's a revenue exercise that is branding for the future. That's exactly what it is, like literally. And that's why people fail to see it. People think, oh, it's just another gimmick, it's a thing, it's going to pass. No, it isn't. It is not going to pass. This is not going to go away. I 100% believe in that. But I think that for yes, it's not going to go away, but for it to be adopted today, I think that there's a few key things that are missing. One is the metrics of communities with NFTs need to change in terms of what success looks like. I think that for some of the communities, based on what we said before, some people are still thinking, okay, the goal of the community is for there to be an environment, and the moment I remove myself or the brands remove itself from the community, then that's a successful community. And there's a lot of people there. No, it isn't. The moment you have people that are coming back to buy your product and people that are it's almost like an audience message fit within the community itself, and the goal there really is to nurture the people. So it's about how many people from the community are actually going into purchase from the community. That's the goal. It's not about it's a different kind of KPI from a business sense. That's the first thing. Um, and the second thing to remember, I think, is I mean, I think that, like I said, NFTs are really, really, really a great way to create customer engagement and brand loyalty. And from what we see from like the top four brands that have done it, it's always about personalization. And this idea of personalization also needs to really change in the brand's mind, right? I think that today they're doing it because of FOMO. They're not doing it because of the personalization side. And that's something to really think of. And also the idea of the useless or seamless experience, which is super important. Like today, when we ask people to onboard into a Web3 community, we're asking them to download a wallet, seed phrase, transfer money to like whatever platform, and then do this and then do that and all these things, and people get lost. They're like, oh my god, there's like 10 steps here. I'm not going to do this if I want to be part of a community. I want to have like 1 or 2 clicks max, and I want everything to be explained to me. And most of the brands are not actually doing this right now. They're some are leveraging existing communities, some are building on top of other things. How many are actually creating a seamless experience for their user through NFTs? How many? You guys tell me.
I love how passionate you are. How many? And that is so true. Like, but also it's very interesting how far it has gone without that, which means the power of community and the power of purpose is so strong that even if the experience is not very nice, some people are willing to go and understand to support. And that's a huge responsibility and gift of bringing communities into the space. But definitely, it's not very much user friendly. And for the educators in the space or the ones wanting to build education, that's one of the most important things. And it's the practical way and a safe space to educate. That's one of the aims of WEYU Academy as well. So people can get to practice with our in-house product, so they learn the experience and they don't get lost in the wild west and have a bad experience, and for so don't want to keep understanding the space. So that's very, very important. And with that, I'll welcome the next question, which is, and we were just talking about a couple of examples, Filippo, you mentioned like 7 of the most interesting NFT strategies for loyalty in customers or community building that you've known of. Please let us know a couple of those, like in real life examples, and why did you think that that was interesting for the people listening today to understand, like, oh, okay, so they did this, it worked, and maybe that could be something that I could be thinking of perhaps, or go read more about.
I think there are several very interesting projects, and for me personally, especially because me and Filippo, as we talk about so many brands in our weekly lives, and it's hard to pick just a few of them. I think some of my favorites that I mentioned, Lacoste. I think it's a great example that is allowing the users to co-create the brand with the community and whatnot, and define the new direction, the future of the company. I really love Etihad, for example, the airline company. They've done, and I've commented about it with Filippo. We talked about it in our weekly live as well. Like, I think Etihad did an amazing job as well with loyalty. Basically they've had this collection of NFTs, and if you bought one of the NFTs, you had amazing perks. Especially if you were a frequent flyer of Etihad, you would get amazing perks that you could use later on. So I think that's extremely interesting.
Although they didn't
I,
manage to sell that many, but believe it or not, it set the
yeah, yeah,
standard.
yeah.
Although it set the standard
Good
for,
point.
I think I saw Delta Airlines yesterday started something there, so you should all check it out. I think Delta
Yeah,
started something.
I think all in all the concept was really interesting. Of an airline company launching an NFT collection that actually grants you benefits, and those are actual benefits that you're gonna want to use. It's not just you get something that is not valuable for you as a user. Like, you actually get some stuff that is interesting. So I thought it was really cool of them, and it grants you like amazing super interesting perks, access to exclusive events, benefits in terms of, like, if I want to buy an air ticket, I'm gonna get a certain discount. And so there's several different exclusive benefits that I thought was really interesting. And I think one of the most interesting applications that I've seen recently that I think it's gonna really play out in the long run is using NFTs for influencers, right? So one of the things, throughout history, one of the biggest problems of companies hiring influencers to do marketing for them is that it's hard for you to track what is the impact of those influencers, right? So suddenly, now companies are using influencers in order to give out proof of attendance in forms of NFTs in order to measure the impact that influencers have, especially if they go to physical events. So when you think about it, like let's say I'm an influencer and I'm gonna be going to this major event where I'm gonna be speaking, or maybe I'm gonna do some sort of meet and greet. Suddenly, my fans can come up to me and get a proof of attendance NFT, and this is a way for me to measure the impact that I've had over my fans and it doesn't have to be in physical events. It can be in like whatever you can think of, that I can give out proof of attendance NFTs, and now suddenly I can measure trust, I can measure impact that these influencers have. So I think that's also going to be an interesting applications there that we're going to see a lot of in the upcoming years.
I love to see that because that also makes me think how, like, if Delta does that, now then Live Mouse will have to think three times on how are they going to innovate, because now that might not be the thing, and that has been the thing for so many years of people trying to mix up here and there to get more Live Mouse and make their travel life more affordable. I love those types of use cases when a first one comes out, so the rest have to actually think of it and be interested in this space. I think that's amazing.
I actually wanted to give an example that is a bit more small scale today, because I think that we see, we see the top brands and 150. Now it's like 150, maybe probably that's the ones we know about. But let's say that there's probably 200 that we don't, over 200, right, that have joined the space and are doing some kind of activation effort. But the truth is, many smaller businesses. When I mean smaller businesses, I just mean companies that are not Fortune 500, companies that don't have thousand employees or more, because there's still big companies that have 400 or 500 employees, and they still have loads of customers, and they still want to understand how to really employ or deploy, sorry, NFTs. I'd like to use the example of this. I used it actually as part of the content series that I did with Web3 for. It's this example of this salad bar in Shoreditch. Okay, so it's a salad bar, right? And in Shoreditch, there's this NFT artist that does broccoli like art, weird broccoli like vegetable art. Okay, and so this salad bar chain went to the artist and said, okay, let's create an NFT collection together. You provide the art. I'll create a loyalty program, and this loyalty program is going to allow people to get perks with the salads, or get cheaper salads, get discounts for X amount of time and they did rentable tokens with a specific ERC, and then they did lifetime tokens, which allow you to have lifetime access to whatever, and it's still pretty cheap. The NFTs look pretty cool. I'm happy to share the pictures eventually, or if you go to the profile, you can see it, I can share the post maybe later on as a link. But the bottom line is that it started but when I asked them, it's like, what was the effect of this? They were like, well, first of all, more people joined. Second of all, so from marketing and branding standpoint, it was pretty cool. Second of all, loads of younger crowds, which are supposedly wanting to eat healthier, joined because of this. Okay, so that's exactly what we're talking about when we're saying how to address younger customers, right? And this is de facto the most simple thing that a salad, the last thing you can think of is a salad bar creating an NFT collection to do, loyalty programs for their salads. Well, here it is. You have no excuse now. Anybody can create. Your hairdresser create an NFT collection. Why not? Why not? If you're creating a loyalty program with cards, why not do it through NFTs and appeal to different audiences while you're doing it, and actually creating a community that cares about what it is that you're, the value that you're providing. So yeah.
And I feel LA and Flipper has provided a lot of good inputs. One more thing the organizations are using, and they would will use more often than to protect, as the security is the most important part of the NFT ecosystem and everything. And as we grow more in size, brands will provide NFTs for to have the personalized data, of the community or the customers, because then they can sell on that data and they can give them that offerings. Because as we progress, the security will get more advanced with all these things, so they will provide NFTs to their customers so that they can gain their data, get access to their data. So I think that's also one of the loyalty, because of they can only they will give this free NFT to these people who are their community, so that they can sell them, upsell them, on different kind of products.
Right, that's very interesting data wise. That is so true. Also to understand how to manage that with like the Web3 mindset of being aware of who owns it and how to manage it. Um, and as we have 15 minutes left of this lovely, lovely conversation, I would like you guys, as with the experience that you have so far and the responsibility of being the ones transmitting this message, what would be the two tips that you'll give for building strategies using NFTs for loyalty and or community building?
So I would say right now, as we are in the bear market side of things and all, I feel it's you need some kind of like qualification to get on the NFT strategies. There's some kind of, they're easy, like Filipino mentioned, that user friendly process of qualifying into the NFTs. Because right now when the we are launching any kind of strategy, we make sure there is some kind of qualification process involved while we do the all the marketing stuff. Then second would be some kind of brand personalization, so that they try to generate some kind of like, is that there is Mr. X and this is what he likes. Let's say it has different categories, so there is some kind of element to that with the person involved in that art or person involved in that organization. So I think qualification process and brand personalization is really, really important.
Eli, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I was waiting to see if you're gonna if you're gonna say something. But I think the first tip that I can give to enterprises that are aiming to use NFTs, I think the first one, and I'm not even gonna consider this one as a tip because it should be tip number 0, is get started. Like get your team to buy some NFTs. It doesn't have to be an expensive collection. It can be just a very cheap NFT collection. Get them to buy some NFTs, get them to transfer the NFTs to their wallets, do the process themselves for them to learn what exactly does it look like to have your own NFTs and to, like to do these transactions and understand what gas fees are. I think that would be step number 0. So if you haven't done that yet, I would, strongly advise you to do so. And then I think after that, we had, as Filippo mentioned a few times, like we have at this point, like more than 200, maybe even more, 200 brands that have entered the space. A lot of them are joining out of FOMO. So I think have an actual reason for you to join the space and start, create an NFT collection and whatnot. Like have a strong why behind, the reason why you want to do this. And so, like, and I think, based on the examples that we have out there from several different brands, there's definitely some stuff that you can use as a reference in order to create your own project. So look at the stuff that has gone well and the stuff that has gone wrong in the space to see, okay, what is our best bet in terms of like creating our own NFT collection or maybe entering the NFT space? How should we approach that, right? I think, having this strong, very strong why behind it. And at the end of the day, I think if you're, aiming to use NFTs, for example, as a way to get closer to your customer, maybe as a way to get closer to your community, think about something that is really feasible, I think, and something that is really valuable that you can offer to whoever it is that you're thinking about offering this to, that would be valuable to them, instead of just creating, because we see a lot of companies that are just creating NFT collections and you buy these NFTs and it doesn't do anything. And they have this roadmap, but you don't know how far is this roadmap going to be implemented, and you don't know, like, you cannot predict the future, so you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. And you end up buying an NFT just because. So you don't want to do that, because I think we're past that point. So not only have a strong reason why, but also at the same time, thinking about providing actual benefits, something that is really valuable to the people that you're thinking about offering these NFTs to, and making it feasible for them. Because at the end of the day, it's about them, not about you. As I said at the beginning, we're entering this customer centric culture, and users are demanding these types of things, right? So nowadays, if you had to choose between Nike and Adidas, maybe you would go with Nike because Nike has artifacts and they have these amazing, benefits for the users, right? So, maybe it could be a reason for people to buy Nike. So think about that for a second. Consumers are demanding, they're demanding more of that stuff.
Hey,
So,
Adidas are with the apes, so I wouldn't buy them anyway.
Not advice, not advice.
Um, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. Eli, please
yeah, no
continue.
problem. It's all good. I was done talking. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think to reinforce what both Eli and After It said, and just to maybe finish it off, I think that, and this is a bit of a spoiler because this is what I was gonna talk about, analyzing. I think the 4 use cases that I gave before, which in my personal view are successful use cases. Also, if you look at the revenue or adoption or whatever, they're at the top, right? And what these 4 NFT projects or NFT activations or Web3 activations have done is follow, a specific strategy. I think that is, the 4 tips, the 4 lessons that can be learned from these are, first of all, to A/B test. Okay, and I think that Time did a great job. So they didn't just start and said, okay, we're gonna do this collection without actually understanding what the customer is or what the customer wants. Who the customer is and what the customer wants. They tested it. They started with one section, then they did they started with one on-chain NFT. Then they did a collab with Timbaland, musician or artist, and then they launched the timepieces, for example, right? So A/B test is the best way to hack it. That's the first thing. The second tip is couple utility, physical and digital utility with the NFT, right? So Artifact, for example, what they did is they created the skins and the basically avatars and the possibility to leverage this in the metaverse, but also they are now launching the crypto cakes. You can actually there's gonna be real crypto, there's gonna be actual shoes, right? That's like there's a physical element to it. So couple utility can not only be digital. Digital utility is not tangible to some. So physical utility is a must, and it should be all coupled together. The third thing is that is taken from the Reddit example. Do not call them NFTs. I like that very much. I think the idea of not actually calling them NFTs, because it's like, oh, you call them NFTs. Oh no, we don't want NFTs. You call them digital collectibles, and people are like, oh my god, it's digital collectibles. Let's hop on that. And by the way, they just like co-created it with these small. I mean, the avatars of Reddit arguably were there before. Like I had one, and the moment they launched an NFT, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. That's it. I'm done. It's like $50. And I think that the last part, which links to that one, which is something that both Reddit did and also I think Starbucks in a way did, is making it seamless. I think, I talk about education all the time, but the truth is, what is better than education, or like the best driver of adoption than education is like the best UX UI. Okay, like if you have the best UX UI of your product, nobody cares about, like, it's going to be adopted because it's the best UX UI. That's it. So that's so critical, and I think that A/B testing, utility, not calling them NFTs, and making it seamless are, I think, 4 of the top tips that I would give today to anybody launching an NFT project in with their brand. So yeah.
Wow, that was very on point. I hope people listening are taking notes, because both of 3 perspectives are very, very important. In my case, as always, be aware that your community, your customers, your team, and all of that, like customers, team, and audience that you're building with your brand are people. Be aware of the impact of the marketing that you're talking to them, so you can bring them on board with the most transparency and people first minded version of it. Transparency and authenticity is the most important thing ever in a business and for high quality connections as people or as brand. And I think that's something that is key to happen. And bear in mind the purpose. So you can then check not just NFTs, but all like the brochure of Web3 technologies, so they can help you and your brand and your company achieve that purpose. Because the technology, I feel, will keep changing. Web3 is just the beginning of an evolution of the next area, but the purpose is here to stay, and mostly if it's solving an in real life problem. So that's my 2 cents on this conversation. Thank you so much for all of you guys to be here, and thank you for all of the people listening to us for the past almost hour. I've learned so much today, and yeah, I'm happy to talk to all of you soon.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Danila, for this.
See you all.
Thank you. Lovely
Thank you,
meeting
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
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 Bye.